Hey everyone, Velma Garnes here, also known as the Velminator, your permanent results coach. This is I think this actually is episode 45. I've gotten it wrong on the last ones. We're still continuing our discussion about our journaling. I just wanted to say that journaling, it depends on how you take it. It can help you clear your head. And I know I've said that before, but I think when you can have a discussion with yourself, that is probably before you can have it with someone else. Normally, if you write down that discussion that you think you need to have with someone else, it usually takes care of itself. So you can write everything out and it can help you think more clearly and see what your role is in that discussion. So that's the first thing with that, and that's what it's helped me a lot with too, and a brain dumped, because you don't have to hold all that information in your brain. You can also make important connections. So there could be things that were happening along the way that you didn't realize were happening. So in other words, if there's a situation that keeps coming up, I'm trying to think of a good example and one's not coming to me, but if there's a situation that keeps coming up, you can always go see where the origination of it comes from. So if there's something that you're trying to get rid of in your life and it keeps coming up, it's a really great thing to go back and see how it all began. So there's guideposts that sort of mark how it was happening for you, and you may not have been realizing it. So you can go back and trace the steps and connect the dots and see how it all began, so you can unravel it, because usually that helps a lot with that. So it's always wise to go back and read everything that you've already written, and I'm guilty of not doing that, because sometimes you just want to get it over with. And there's some people that actually burn every single entry because people keep asking me about that too, because they're really afraid that other people are going to read it. I can't tell you what to do. I could just be like, you could try it out and see if it works for you, to help you lighten your load, because that's what I think it does for me, for sure. It kind of helps you buffer or reduce negative experiences. So in other words, if you don't want to have not that you don't want to have, but if there's conversations that you don't want to have with other people, it's really wise to write it out first, so you know what you're going to say to that person. And it's just easier to map it out first before you actually go and have the conversation. That would be the wisest way to kind of see what your angle is on it. And it helps out more than you could possibly know. But don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for anything. Like, the best thing you can do for yourself is put action behind everything that you're doing. So imagine if you can wake up in the morning and the first thing that you do is journal for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever time that you carve out for yourself. Just imagine waking up, instead of picking up your phone and trying to figure out who sent you messages or checking your social media, because we live in such an input society. Like, we're used to having things input into us. And so it's difficult to work from a creative space if you're already having a bunch of crap dumped into you before you even wake up. You know what I mean? And I used to be guilty of this too. One of the things that really helps me a lot, and I didn't realize that I did this at the time, is we had like 2 televisions in our house, and they both just happened to break down. Like, they were those really crappy models, those big fat those floor models, and so they were ready to die anyway. So what ended up happening, one of them ended up breaking, and then we just didn't replace it. And then the other one ended up breaking, and we just didn't replace it. And I realized, because the first thing I said, before that all happened, the first thing I did was I took out the news. I think I stopped watching the news, because I'm a really sensitive person, and it really helped so much. I felt so much better. But then when both of our televisions broke down, I was like, we don't even need the televisions, because I didn't know at the time how it was just lightening everything. And so now we haven't even had televisions. And the only reason why we didn't buy new ones is because at the time that they broke down, like, the flat screens were so expensive. And we're like, we're not spending that much money on a stupid flat screen television. Like, what? And anymore, you can kind of take television with you anywhere, right? Because if you have a laptop or your cell phone, like, you can always find some sort of streaming source of information. So it just really depends on you, because everyone is always going to make it available to you, and everyone's going to try and input information into you, and you have to choose what information you're going to ruminate on and focus on and spend time with. And so it's always your choice. So if you can imagine, like, getting up in the morning and writing down, like, the thoughts of your day, and it doesn't have to be anything extraordinary. It's just you spending time in that creative space. and just taking the time of writing things out for yourself rather than having a bunch of stuff dumped into you. So that is it. Train yourself to don't take my word for it. You have to try out different things, because you might be able to come up with something to teach me something, and I would certainly appreciate that. So there's many different ways to skin a cat or eat an elephant. Hopefully that's not a offensive animal reference, but you have to try different stuff out, because there's action behind it that's going to get you to the places that you want to be. And if you're not feeling anything, or if you're not getting a result, that is your own fault. You have to change it up so that you can make it work for you. That is it. I'm not going to babble on anymore. Thank you so much if you showed up here. Freddie, thank you, Freddie. I'm waving at you, Freddie. You waved at me twice. What's going on? Thank you for showing up. So if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. If you're watching the replay on this on Facebook, it's going to be at the top of this video. I'm providing a link to give you sources of starting not how to journal, but at least something to start writing about. And I'll eventually keep adding in more and more like journal prompts, because I know it's hard to kind of get these things started. But never know unless you try. So I will see you tomorrow. Thanks to you. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie. I really appreciate that. All right. Bye. I'm signing off, because I'll keep babbling. I'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, Freddie.